Adam.
There he is.
Where's Adam?
E.
Hi, Adam.
Hi.
He looks like the sound of music.
He's our movie star, handsome guy. You look like Richard Gere crossed with somebody else. Okay.
Sylvester Stallone.
So, Adam, do you want to say a little bit about your book and give an introduction to your book? Are you up for that?
Yeah, definitely. So the book I'm translating, it was written by one of Jetson Kappa's two main disciples, Kedrib J. And it's a summary of 7 of the 8 kind of major works that Master Dharmakirti wrote. And they all deal mainly with the topic of accurate perception. So.
Okay, cool. By the way, we're working hard on your book. Your book will be the next book that comes out after this term. Your first book, and it's going to be awesome, about 500 pages. All right, here we go. Dun, 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 dun. Okay, here's a, do that. Hang on. Oh, man. Okay. Good. Okay. Oh, sorry. All right, here we go. Okay, now I can see everybody. All right, progress report. We're doing pretty well. We're doing 5 folio faces. The whole book is going to be 2,000 pages. I suggest we split it into 4 books of 500 pages each. And we can finish the first book, Classes, a year from this autumn, okay? So in about a year and a couple months, we can finish the classes for the first book. Okay, we're in the middle of an argument, and it's quite a deep argument. And so we're gonna have to go back just a few sections and talk about it, okay? Mm-hmm. And it remind so I went to many Janguncha. This is the Olympics of debating, and only 50 people from each monastery are allowed to go. And I invited myself, and I have attended, I think, 5, which is a record or something. It's like going to the Olympics 5 times, and I didn't do that great. But I went and I learned to debate, and I wasn't the star. In fact, one time the debate master told me to shut up and sit down. But anyway, I remember one day at Ganden Monastery, I killed everybody. And I had one correct debate, and somebody said, is emptiness kokir or mungir or shinto kokir? Is it on an obvious level of reality, the hidden level of reality, or deeply hidden level of reality? And I said it's all 3. And I defended that position against like 100 guys, and I beat them. So that was my one moment of glory among, 15 years of being told to sit down. And it wasn't that bad. So the question is it a contradiction for something to be obvious and hidden?
No.
And then, but can you say it's a contradiction to one person? Then you're still at the same time. You have to say at the same time to one person, okay? So there's 2 qualifiers you have to add. To the same person at the same time. Because maybe later it's obvious to you and it wasn't obvious to you in the beginning. Does that mean, so we can say that the obvious level of reality and the deeper level of reality are not contradictory, even with regard to a single object. But does that mean that direct perception and deduction are not contradictory? The 2 instruments used to see obvious reality and hidden reality, are the instruments, do they contradict each other? Can you have both at the same time?
The same person at the same time?
Same person, both at the same time, yeah. And we say no, you cannot. So in a way, it's an interesting contradiction. Objects can be on different levels at the same time. But that doesn't mean that the perceptions needed to see the objects at those levels are not contradictory. They are contradictory, apparently. Okay, so that's the debate going on here. All right, Sema Ngunje Nimin Gawatel. He says, I think direct perception and deduction, use deduction for difficult things, right? Which could be also authority, right? So he says, I don't think they contradict each other. To see something directly and to see it by figuring it out, I don't think the two mental processes are contradictory at the same time in the same mind. And we say, why the hell you say that? He says, well, you just said it's not contradictory for the object to be obvious and hidden at the same time. So therefore, the instruments that you use to perceive them shouldn't be contradictory either. Our Ranglu, our own position, is that one object can be obvious and hidden at the same time. But that doesn't mean that the two thought processes needed to see them can go on in the same mind at the same time. That you have to figure it out with logic and that you see it directly. We say those two are contradictory. You can't have both going on at the same time in your mind. He says, well, I don't get it because the objects are not contradictory at the same time. Why shouldn't the instruments be not contradictory at the same time? Okay, that's his position. Then we say, Makebna Shajangunko ni ngepe semengunje ni sengepa mayimba taloshino. Then he says, now I'm starting to doubt your whole presentation about there's two kinds of perception, like direct, you can see it with your own eyes, or you have to figure it out. You have to close your eyes and figure it out. I'm starting to doubt your whole presentation, okay? Then we come back with a very profound answer. And only a person who has studied logic deeply will even come close to understanding it, okay? And our answer is, here we go. There are three kinds of bad reasons. There are traditionally three kinds of bad logic. And if you have never heard them, get married. Right? Right? I don't know who to talk to. You guys, there's three kinds of bad logic in the world, okay? And by the way, if you think logic is not important or not interesting, you should study these three, and then you should read the newspaper. Or you should hear some politician talk, and you just have a heart attack. You say, oh my God, he used all three kinds of bad logic in one sentence. It's a miracle, you know? So once, it's not useless to study logic, and it helps you avoid sloppy thinking yourself. And then you can think more clearly. And if you get used to using logic and you learn formal logic, I say you'll be a much more successful person in your life. You will make much, much more money. You'll have much happier time. Things will happen successfully. Study logic and you'll see why. So here's the three bad kinds of reasoning. Okay, they are called madrupa. Say madrupa. Yawa. Mangepa. One is where the reason is just false. Second is where the reason is totally false, and in fact the opposite. You know, and third is where the reason is unsure. It's interesting, but it doesn't prove what you're trying to prove. Okay, and I'm going to give you classic examples. All right. Then Caleb J says to this other guy, I think those three kinds of bad logic are not contradictory. Those three instruments of perception, faulty, mistaken instruments of perception, according to your thinking, they must not be contradictory. They are contradictory, by the way. Okay? Well, he says, well, why do you say that? Well, we say because the components of a logical statement are not contradictory. Okay? If one thing which is normally if one thing is not contradictory, then I guess that means the other thing is not contradictory, because you said if the two kinds of reality don't, or three kinds of reality, three levels of reality, if they don't contradict each other, if one thing can be on all three levels at the same time to three different people, right? Something can be obvious to this person, Einstein, hidden to this person, and totally clueless to this person, okay? That object can be three things at once, not contradictory, okay? And then he said, if those three are not contradictory, then the instruments used to perceive them must not be contradictory for a single person at the same time, which is false. They are contradictory. You can't use logic and direct perception at the same moment towards the same object, same person, okay? But he says, if the object can be at three levels, then the instrument can also be at three levels at the same time. It makes sense to me. It makes sense that if you say different levels of reality can exist in one object at the same time, then I think different instruments of perception must also not be contradictory in the same moment. But that's not true. Okay, so he says, if this is not contradictory, then this is not contradictory. And we say, I agree this isn't contradictory, but that doesn't mean the instruments are not contradictory. And if you think so, then let's take another two not contradictories. And we'll take another two that are essential for learning logic, which is maybe what you need. Okay, got it? And so it's an extraordinary and difficult leap. K2J says, if because this is not contradictory, this is not contradictory, then this is not contradictory about logic, then this is not contradictory about logic, according to you. Because if one is not contradictory, the other one has to be not contradictory. Okay, what two things do you want to choose? Let's take the three kinds of bad logic and the three components of a logical statement. Okay, and they have nothing to do with each other. I mean, they have nothing to do with his first argument. He just wants to have an excuse to teach us the three kinds of bad logic and the three components of a logical statement. He says, okay, are we okay? It's very difficult, extremely difficult, okay? So to really go forward here, let's look at how those three kinds of bad logic are contradictory, okay? Are contradictory. Because his Tengyur, his Prasangika, oh, they must not be contradictory, which means they are contradictory, okay, got it? And then we'll go to the other three, which is the three components of a correct logical statement. So K2J is using this as a deep, deep, deep excuse to talk about logic. Okay, it's incredible. And it's very difficult. Okay, so we can't go forward without discussing the three kinds of bad logic, which, as I say, if you're married, extremely helpful. I don't care what side you're on. Okay, so here we go. I went and got examples for you, I hope. Where was that? Did we cover that already?
You did.
I'm sorry. You want to give us the three examples? How about, and they're all couched means in English, they're all expressed in, terms of the greatest original logical statement, which was given by the Buddhists to the yoga people, which was what? Jachichin.
Mitakte chepa image.
They said Om is eternal. And we said, no. What's Om? What's it called? Ben, what's the word in the Yoga Sutra for Om? First,
Pranava.
Pranava. Yeah, Pranava. It even has a name. The original sound. Okay, Pranava. Om. They say Om has existed forever and Om was not created by anybody. We say, Dachichen, let's take sound. Mitakte, it is changing. Chepe, because someone made it. Okay, must be. Now, Adam, how do you twist that logic to get these three kinds of bad logic? What are the three examples? Do you remember?
Yeah. So with Madrupe Tensik, it's consider sound. It's changing because it's something you can see.
Good.
Mm-hmm.
Number two, Galwa, Galwa, Galway Tensik. It's consider.
What's the crucial thing there? That's the sound. It must be a changing thing because you can see it.
Mm-hmm.
Because sound is something which is perceived by the consciousness of the ear, not something you can see.
So the reason is wrong. It doesn't apply to the subject. You cannot see sound normally. Okay. All right, good. Okay, second one, Adam.
Galway Tensik, consider sound. It's unchanging because it's made.
Good. Take it is not changing because it's made.
Uh-huh.
Okay, then that's a contradiction. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The second element contradicts the third element. Okay. In the first case, the third element's not true about the first element. Okay. All right, and the third one, Adam.
Mangepe Tensik, it's sound is changing because it's something you can perceive.
Let's take sound. It's changing because it's something you can perceive. It is true. The reason is correct. 3 fits 1, but 3 doesn't imply 2. Okay, got it? All right. Okay, good. Now we have to go to the 3 components of a good logical reason. Okay, and they are called, Adam?
Chokcha, well, it's, what's it, trying to think of what the term is for all 3. It's Sulsum?
Yeah, good. Yeah, so.
So Chokcha, JCap, and Dokap. So take the Japanese restaurant. It has good food, or we're going to go there because it has good food.
Yeah, we should go there because it has good food. All right.
So the relationship, the Chokcha would be the Japanese restaurant has good food.
Yeah, and to say it, I like to say it, 1 is 3. 1 is 3. Take the Japanese restaurant. We should go there. It has good food. Japanese restaurant has good food. That's the first relationship. Relationship number 1. What's the J-Cap?
So it has good food, so we're going to go there.
If something has good food, they should go there. If 3, then 2. If 3, then 2. That's the second necessary relationship in a good logical statement. What's the third necessary relationship?
So if it doesn't have good food, we're definitely not going to go there.
If not 2, then not 3. If it didn't have good food, we shouldn't go there. Okay? By the way, if the second relationship is true, the third one is always true. Okay? If 3, 2. And then you just flip it and you say not 2, not 3. But it's a reconfirmation step. Okay? Now, are they contradictory, those 3 relationships? Are they the same thing in some way? No, they're not. They're completely different. Okay? They are Gyawa.
Well.
I'm sorry. They are not Gyawa. They can coexist in a single logical statement. How's that? They don't contradict each other in the sense that they cannot coexist. They can coexist. In fact, they have to coexist if you're going to have good logic. Okay, so if those 3 can coexist, does that mean the 3 kinds of bad reasons should be able to coexist? Yeah, not necessarily. well, why are we telling the guy, oh, I think the three kinds of bad reasons should coexist, because the three parts of a good reason do coexist. Do coexist. Okay. So I think the others shouldn't be contradictory. And he said, why the hell why are you pointing that out? And we said, well, you just did the same thing. Okay. You said, because one object could be at different levels of reality.
Yeah.
Then the instruments, the mental instruments of perception that you use to see them should be at the same level. Should also be not contradictory, but they are. Got it? It's a very difficult proof. It's a very unusual and difficult proof. But if you understand it, you almost don't have to read this book. All right. I'm just kidding. Okay, here we go. There's a few notes by Geshe-la. I make these notes so I can remember what the hell I figured out during preparing for the class. Okay. Go ahead.
Makabna, selche, takyan daki tsini la sum de chang ngepe, selchi, tak tarnang la madrupa sok sum, de chang ngepa mempartelo sheja na chima.
Okay, let's do the easy part. Shejana chima. If I say this, what the hell are you going to say? Okay, Shejana means if I say this. Chima means what kind of answer can you give? Okay, so, okay, got it? If you say makab means look, just because the three elements of a logical statement can coexist doesn't mean that the three kinds of bad logic can coexist in a single sentence at a single time, unless your spouse is really cuckoo. Okay, all right, good. Got it? Okay. He said makab. Makab means look, just because, I gotta say it again, just because the three elements in a logical statement can coexist doesn't necessarily mean that those others could coexist, okay? And by the way, which is our position. But he said, if you say makab, selje means, selje here means clear maker, makes clear, clear maker. So this spelling of cell means to clarify. It is not the cell in uzel, which means clear light. So SEL means the verb to clarify. SGSAL means clear as an adjective, okay? So selje means the clarifier. Dayan dakitseni, okay? That which makes things clear. What? Correct logic, good logic. Dayan dakitseni. There's soon. There have to be three elements. Those three relationships. That's the definition of a good reason. When those three relationships hold, if 1, 3, if 3, 2, if not 2, not 3. If those three relationships hold, then those clarifiers has three. There are fixed at 3. Chang'e means fixed at 3. There have to be 3 relationships. That's the definition of a good reason. That's the definition of a good reason. Okay. What? Any reason where the 3 relationships hold is a good reason. Okay. And it's true. The thing is true. Okay. Now, what are we trying to clarify in the sense of what are we trying to clear away? It's those taktarnang. It's the 3 kinds of bad logic. Tarnang means bad logic. Okay, taktarnang means bad logic. We're trying to sweep those away. The sweeper we use is those 3 relationships. That's a good thing. The thing we're trying to sweep away, sel shi, is the 3 kinds of bad logic. Okay, sel shi manjubisok sumtu chang'e but mimba talo. Well, I disagree that there should be 3 kinds of bad logic. Okay, if just because if the first three are correctly numbered, then I think it means the last three are not correctly numbered. Okay, the three kinds of bad reasons are not correctly numbered if the number of good relationships is correct. Okay, he's saying that. It doesn't necessarily follow. Okay, Mimbartello. Oh, is that what you're saying? Are you saying that the three kinds of bad reasons is, are you saying that the number of the bad reasons is incorrect? I'm sorry. Are you saying that because there's three relationships in a good reason, there's not three kinds of bad reasons? Is that what you're saying? I'll say it again. We're accusing the other guy. Are you saying that because there's three kinds of relationships needed in a good reason, that there's not three kinds of bad reasons? Is that what you're saying? He's trying to draw a parallel between a set of three and a set of three, where it's not really so relevant. Something is true about one, it has to be true about the other set. Why do you say that? Because you think if the three levels of reality can apply to one object, then the instruments of perception used to see those three levels of reality should also all be not contradict each other, shouldn't bump into each other in one person's head at the same time. You're drawing a false parallel. So let's draw another false parallel. There must not be three relationships necessary. Why? Because there's three kinds of bad reasons. That's a false parallel. It doesn't have anything to do with each other. Yeah, but you did the same goddamn thing just now. Okay, got it? Just nod. When you're in doubt, just nod. Nod confidently, Arena. Well, anybody knows that. That's what we do in the debate ground. Anybody knows that. Can you explain it to me afterward? Yeah, don't worry. All right. Okay. Then he says, then I agree that the number of bad reasons is not fixed at three. I agree that the number of bad reasons is not fixed at three. Okay. Then we say, okay, that one's easy. Then there's not three parts to a good reason. If you agree that one set of three is indefinite, then okay, the other set of three is also indefinite. And the reason which has the three necessary relationships is not the definition of good reason. And there's no definition of good reason. And Dharmakirti was wrong, and Dignaga was wrong, and Jetso Kata was wrong. And okay, cool, that's nice. Okay, we say if you disagree to the second set of three, well, then you should be disagreeing to the first set of three also. So shut up. Okay, got it? All right, now he goes from impossible to totally impossible. Okay, and I have 10 pages of notes on the next verse. Okay, I have 10 pages of notes. It took me to figure out the next verse. All right, if you don't believe me, keep your eyes on the screen. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. The bold is 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Anyway, it's about 20 pages of note on one line. Okay, so I'm working hard for you guys. Okay, I just want you to know.
Thank you.
And let me see if I can really find. Okay, the first thing to know about this, Adam, can you read this verse first of all? Nick wants to check you. Okay.
Ona.
Oh, yeah, good.
Kokir Kirpale, Shelja Shini Yamayin, Dechir Shelja Ni Ki, Sema Ni Su Shepadang, Shepa Jitar Chang Shena.
Good. Okay, good. So this extremely difficult quotation from the Dharmakirti starts out with a misspelling. Okay, so I mean it's torture. This thing took hours. Okay, anyway, means death, by the way. Ona means well then. Okay, so I'm like death. What's a death? You know? Okay, well then. And by the way, it was smushed into anyway. Okay, this is a famous line. And the other guy pulls it out as a weapon against us. Okay, he pulls it out as a weapon against us. It comes from Dharmakirti. It's from the Pramana Vartika. Okay, and it says, Ngunsam Koto Kyopa Le. There's no shelja. What's that mean, Adam?
There's no object which is apprehended by the mind. There's,
Good. Meaning there's no existing object other than lay. Okay, other than lay, because lay can mean from, lay can mean karma, and lay can mean other than. Here it's other than. Okay, there's no existing object in the universe other than Ngunsum and Kokyo.
Mhm.
obvious and hidden reality.
Obvious objects and hidden objects. Hidden objects are understood to be divided into hidden and really hidden. Shiddakoki. Okay. All right. So look, there's no other objects in the universe except three levels of reality. Either it's easy to see, it's a little hard to see, or it's practically impossible to see. Okay. There's only three levels of difficulty in trying to perceive the world. Okay. So there's no other existing thing in the universe. Easy things to see, hard things to see, impossible things to see. There's no other ones. That's what the first two lines say. Therefore, the objects perceived in the universe are also
Two.
yeah, sorry, because there's two levels of, or three levels of reality, semani.
No, accurate perception is set at two. Yeah.
Yeah. The types of instruments of perception are fixed at two because the objects they see are fixed at two. Or you can say three. There's three kinds of objects. There's three levels of reality. Therefore, all states of mind can be divided into three levels of depth or perception. Okay, got it? There's a link between the kinds of the levels of reality and the levels of the instruments of perception. There's a link. There's three different possible levels of reality. Therefore, there's three different levels of perception. Okay. Now, what are we going to say? The first three are not contradictory. The second three are. That's wrong. That's our position. Okay, and it's a little weird. Can one object be obvious, hidden? Can the sun be obvious and hidden at the same time? Yeah. One guy has eyes, one guy's blind. For the blind person, it's hidden. Okay. So can one mind be using logic and direct perception at the same moment? No, those are contradictory. Okay. But do we say there's two instruments of perception because there's two levels of things to perceive? Well, that's okay. You can say that. We're just saying those two can't happen in the same mind at the same time. You don't have to use logic about the Japanese restaurant if you're eating the food there. Okay. And in fact, you can't. You got to choose either direct or logic. They are contradictory in one mind at the same time. Okay. Okay, you want to use this one thing at the same time. Does that apply to the levels of reality? Can this spoon be hidden and obvious at the same time? Yeah. In one place at the same time, the spoon can be hidden and obvious to two different people. But in one mind, can the two instruments of perception be simultaneous? No, you can't be eating the Japanese food. No, this is good. And thinking, wow, there's salt, there's sodium, therefore it must be delicious. You one or the other, okay? Even a Buddha can't use both. Yeah, even a Buddha, there's a debate about it. Yeah, by the way, there's an interesting debate that you're going to come to about, it's in Adam's text. Does a Buddha use direct perception to see things directly? Okay, that's a debate. But that's another subject, okay? So now, Dharmakirti, our hero, and by the way, don't mix up the two Kirtis. It's a common error. The Library of Congress mixed them up, okay? I won't say who. But Dharmakirti and Chandrakirti, God, don't mix them up. Okay, Dharmakirti said there's two kinds of instruments of perception because there's two levels of reality. And we understand that the second level of reality is split into two itself. So 3 and 3, okay? Then Jitar Dangshena means what, Adam? Tough sentence. Jitar Dangshena. The guy who said Ona also said Jitar Dang.
It would follow that it's like this.
No, Jitar Dang means how the hell can you have this quotation if you don't accept my position? Wana means well then. Wana. Say wana. Wana means well then. Didn't your own teacher say that there's 3 levels of reality, therefore there's 3 instruments? Yeah, he did. Well, therefore they don't contradict each other, do they? Yeah, it doesn't follow, right? It's makya. We should say makya. So that verse is a very long story. I'm not going to try to explain the whole thing, but you see the point, okay? Now comes a more difficult verse. Okay. Here it goes. Adam, please read.
Ona. Tinsik, kid, so sum lang. De yi madru do dang. Chopa chen yi nimpor ni ngepa japar zepa yin chepa jitar jang she japar chao.
Here's our answer. He said, if you're right, why did your hero Dharmakirti say that there's 3 instruments? Because there's 3 objects, right? Okay, and then we say, well then, okay, why? What about this verse? You're gonna pull out that verse? Well, how about this verse? We're like mocking him, Oh, you want to pull that verse out? Well, let's pull out another one and see what you think. So Jitar Dang means he's saying it back to the other guy. Oh, well, you want to pull a Dharmakirti verse out? Hey, we can do it too. We got a Dharmakirti verse for you. What's the Dharmakirti verse for me? Well, here it is. And it's totally impossible. And it's goddamn misspelled. Okay. The verse is impossible if it's spelled right. And it's misspelled. Okay. I'm just kvetching. You know kvetching? It's a Yiddish word for whining. I'm whining.
Complaining.
Wife says, I don't listen anyway, so just quit it. I have a feeling my students are the same. Okay, Tensei Kini Tsusum Lang. And I have a translation which is going to make it clear. And it took me a long time. This is the 20 pages of notes, okay? Here's my translation. It's not something, Ben, you can use in your translation when you get to this chapter in 20 years. Mm-hmm. It clarifies the meaning. Okay, here we go. He undertook, meaning Dignaga, to clarify the 3 different relationships. We have that already, right? That are in a good reason within a logic statement, because he wanted to fight back, preventative. He wanted to fight back against the 3 kinds of bad reasons that fail to prove things, okay? Fail to prove things. Or you could say in the sense of the opposite meaning. In other words, some of those reasons that other guys were using failed to prove what they're trying to prove, or they actually proved the opposite of what they were trying to prove, okay? Or they were just plain mistaken, okay? Which is, if you think about it, the three kinds of bad reasons, okay? They either fail to prove, they prove the opposite, or they're just stupid, okay? Three bad. So here's the verse where Master Dharmakirti is talking about the connecting the three relationships in a good reason to the three kinds of bad reasons. Okay, so there's a precedent. And who did it? Dharmakirti is only reporting it. Dignaga did it, the granddaddy of all logic. Okay, Dignaga, you guys, what did he do with a piece of chalk? Guess I want the good part or the bad part? I want both.
He threw it in the air first because he was doing an act of truth, because he was fed up.
He was pissed off, threw it up in the air. He said, by the time this chalk hits the ground,
I quit.
I give up bodhicitta.
And then it never hit, and because Lord Manjushri caught it.
And then said, I'll take care of you. Yeah, but what's the other use of the chalk? Yeah, he started his most famous book on the cave wall, the Chuja, the promise to compose the word. Okay. Okay. All right. So we're throwing this back at that guy.
Mm-hmm.
We're throwing this back at the guy. You want to quote Dharmakirti? Let's quote this Dharmakirti, which is referring to Dignaga. Okay. Dignaga favored the three relationships, and he favored how they are an antidote to the three kinds of bad logic. Okay, so here we have finally a connection between the three relationships and the three kinds of bad logic. If the three relationships, aren't there, you can put the spoon down, Gishla. You can eat later. If the three kinds of relationships aren't there, then it's one of the three kinds of bad logic. Okay. And you could do that as homework, but I'm not going to make you do that. Okay, so we pull it out. We pull it out to him. You want to make comparisons? You want to quote Dharmakirti? How about this one? This is what we said. Okay, he thinks the other one supports what he said. Why? He said if there's different levels of reality that don't contradict each other, then the instruments used to see those three levels of reality shouldn't contradict each other. And it's your guy who talked about those two in the same verse. And we say, well, our guy also talked about the two sets of three that we wanted to talk about. In fact, his teacher talked about it. Got it?
Geshe-la?
Yeah.
Are we implying that the three types of incorrect reasons correlate to the three tests of a correct reason?
It's a great, great question. And what do you think? Is there any relationship?
It's bothering me because I feel like the text is strongly implying it, but it doesn't seem quite right to me. And in fact, if it did, then that means that 2 and 3 could not be contradictory because the second and third test reinforce one another.
Yeah, I'm going to give you guys a homework right now, Adam and Ben.
Yeah.
Okay? And you're going to do the homework right now, right here.
Oh, good.
Okay? Explain to us, guys, and you can take one by one, okay? Explain to us, guys, how the three kinds of bad reasons fail to fulfill the three relationships. And then you answered yourself. Is there a connection between the three relationships and the three kinds of bad logic?
So I could take,
Take the first one.
Gelway Tinsik.
Yep, you take any one you want. Then Ben has to take another one. Then you come back to Adam.
So sound is unchanging because it's made. Sound is unchanging because it's made. So
say it like this. Take sound. It's unchanging because it's made. Which relationship is broken?
Number 2. 3 and 2.
Good. 2 and 3. State them. State them.
So take sound, it's unchanging because it's made. Sound is made. However, just because it's
Relationship
made,
one is fine. Relationship one is fine.
yeah. However, being made doesn't mean that it's unchanging. In fact, it's contradictory
And not being unchanging doesn't mean
that it's not made.
right. Okay, the second one, Ben.
So already, which that I think technically was the second one, right? Didn't he do it in?
Choose any other one. Choose any other one.
Okay.
What kind of bad logic?
So Madhurba, sound is changing because it's seen.
I want you guys to always start with take sound.
Take sound.
Okay. It's
It's unchanging.
because it's
Seen.
okay.
It's
What relationship
It's
is
changing because it's seen, right? It's changing because it's seen.
yeah? What relationship is not honored by that?
The chokche, the first relationship. It's not true to say of sound that it is seen.
Yeah, and etc. Okay, we won't go to the third one, but what I'm saying is there is a relationship between the three relationships and the three kinds of bad logic. Bad logic always breaks one or more of the relationships. Okay, bad logic always breaks one or more of the relationships, which makes it bad logic. Is there a connection between the three kinds of bad logic and the three relationships? Yes. Is there a connection between the three levels of reality and the three instruments of perception? Yes. It's two parallelisms, 3 plus 3, 3 plus 3, okay? But to say because one of the three is contradictory, the other set of three has to be contradictory is itself a contradiction and bad logic, okay? Yay.
So the three types of bad reasons, are we saying that they are or are not contradictory to one another?
Oh, no, that's a good question. That's a great question, okay?
It seemed like the
I would say
tell.
they are. I would say they are contradictory. I don't think you can be one kind of bad logic and be the other kind of bad logic at the same time. I mean, some spouses are flirting with that border, but
If you are,
I mean, I don't think in the same breath, maybe in the same kitchen on the same night, right? But not in the same logical statement. I think they are contradictory. I don't think they can overlap.
But isn't the Gelwa Amadrupa, for instance?
I don't understand what you mean.
right?
Isn't the contradictory one a form of an incomplete reason?
Well, all three bad reasons. The question we have here is, do they contradict each other? Can a single logical statement have two kinds of bad reasoning in it? And I think not.
Huh.
I think not. Okay, I mean, unless it was just totally wild thing, you know. Take sound, it's a pizza because it's a solar eclipse. Yeah.
Are we not, was there not an implication here by Dharma Kirti that the reason that Dignaga proposed three tests is because somehow the three tests reveal each of the three types of incorrect reasons?
I think you could say that.
But you can't say that because you would only need two.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's an old argument. Do you need the third relationship, you mean? Because anything that has the second relationship has the third relationship. That's
right. But isn't this the reason being? It seems like the implication here is somehow, unless I'm misunderstanding the nature of the three types of incorrect reasons, that Dharmakirti is putting forth somehow a correlation where if you fail the first test, then that's one of the three, and you fail the second test, that's another.
I would say that's true. Yeah, that's true.
How do we line them up one to one? Because what we just decided with Adam's case right away was that if you failed Gelwa, you If you are a Gelwa, it's because you failed 2 tests.
Oh, yeah, you could say that. That's all right. I don't think it blows up the example. I understand what you mean. I would say it primarily fails 1 test. How's that?
Primarily, which on earth one would you pick?
The first one of the 3, the second one of the 3, rather than the third of the 3, because 2 comes before 3.
So it only a little bit contradicts the second one. And all the way contradicts the first one. So how much does it contradict the third one?
It equally contradicts both.
It equally contradicts both. So it's not true that it more contradicts one than the other.
No, it does, because one was stated first and the other was stated as a corollary of the second.
So something that's stated. Okay, yeah, right. All right.
Let's go. By the way, we just got through an incredibly difficult section.
Yeah.
Okay, Geshe Wangchu doesn't help that much. Here's the classical examples of the 3 kinds of bad logic, okay? And, you should probably remember these 3, okay? Let's do them again, Adam, okay?
Mhm.
A contradictory logical statement is Drachichen. Okay, he says Che Taki Dratapa Dupa. So he says to use the reason it is made to prove that sound is unchanging. He doesn't give the full statement. He doesn't say take sound, it's unchanging because it's made. He says using the reason made to prove that sound is unchanging. But Adam, let's turn it into a proper logical statement. First, the object under consideration, then what we want to prove about it, and then what is already true about it, okay, accepted by the other person. Here's a contradictory form of a bad reason.
Geshe, just so you know, we're over time.
Yay, we can do this next time. All right, let's do it next time, Adam. By the way, extremely difficult section. And don't worry, I'm sure the rest won't be this difficult. Bad reason. Okay, stopped here. By the way, you think we're not making progress because we didn't do 5 pages, but you have just learned half of his first chapter. Okay, so don't be frustrated. Don't be frustrated, Adam, okay? It's if you're sharp, you can learn the rest of the chapter in these initial what do you call it? Sword fights. Okay. And this is a tradition of Tsongkhapa's group. Kedub J, Gyaltsab J, Gendon Drup. They do a lot of sword fights and then they sit down and explain everything to you. But they start with a lot of sword fights. And you're like, I don't understand anything. And they're like, well, if you listen carefully, you're going to learn everything we're going to teach you later in the sword fight. Okay. All right. Cool.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you, Geshe.
Thank you, Adam. And thank you for hanging in there. And by the way, your book is coming out beautiful. I got to say. It's going to be a big hit among the 3 of us who are going to buy it. All right. I'm just kidding. We weren't in it for the money. We're trying to save this wisdom in this world. So there will be copies floating around. All right. I'll see you in 7 minutes, Nick.
5 minutes.
Okay.
5 minutos. If you need 7, we'll take 7.
Well, I'm just saying this. We should probably have a minimum for you know what.
Yes. Let's take 7. You're the boss. Anyway. We can't do anything without you. So.
Oh no, I personally don't need to right now. But
oh, very good. Oh, I see. Well.
Okay, but maybe somebody does. All right. Who's
6 minutes. Let's
call us up next, right?
yeah.
Okay. See